introducing you here into the space and helping you to cultivate a sense of connection and calm amidst a chaotic world, a chaotic mind, chaotic people. I'm going to show that to you in 3 steps with something that I call the joy tap. How the heck do you start a podcast? I don't mean literally behind the scenes of starting the podcast. I mean actually the first episode. What do you say? Well, this was the question haunting my brain for approximately the last 4 hours. You see, I'm no stranger to podcasts. This is technically my 4th go at it, but I'm also no stranger to raging ADHD, overthinking, self-sabotage, fill in the blanks here. And as I got ready to do this episode, everything that possibly could go wrong went wrong. The microphone wasn't working, the video wasn't working, the pipes were having water run through them beside the microphone. And all of this to say that chaos never truly goes away in life, which ironically was my topic for today. And it's funny that I've come to expect life sends us these little Easter eggs or nuggets or messages when we need to hear them. It sometimes gives us what we need, even though we don't think what it's giving us is what we need. And today, for whatever reason, the thing that I needed, I guess, was to go through this adversity, to be reminded that the part of me that's trying to control and trying to make this really interesting and trying to open with something that's going to make you remember it and all of that rabbit hole is all to say that we can't control anything. The best way to show up is just to show up where you are. It's not to say that planning isn't necessary, but sometimes we overplan so much that we don't even know who we are anymore or what we're doing. And that's where this podcast was born, with the idea that you are essentially an amazing human being. You're enough. You're great. But you've forgotten. You've forgotten how great you are. You've forgotten that you're enough. You've forgotten that you don't need to do or have or be anything other than who you are. And unfortunately, the world that you live in has forgotten about it as well. But for now, what I want to tell you is that today, our focus is going to be on introducing you here into the space and helping you to cultivate a sense of connection and calm amidst a chaotic world, a chaotic mind, chaotic people. I'm going to show that to you in 3 steps with something that I call the joy tap. And it's accessible to you anytime, any place. It's a quick exercise that you can do, and that's really the name of the game with these episodes, with this podcast. Quick episodes, quick exercises that you can implement quickly on the go to help you in a busy world. And that's what we're going to dive into. Hey, you're hanging out on the Tony Babcock podcast, where we're reminding you to take a quick breath, remember who you are, and face the chaos so you can own your spotlight and be exactly who you were meant to be. I want to start things off by saying that many of us, those of us with a certain amount of privilege, have running water. We have a tap that we can go to anytime and get water, albeit sometimes it's like in a Brita filter. And the idea that water is accessible to us anytime through this tap is a really interesting metaphor to what I'm going to talk about today, which is joy. We, in times of crisis and trauma, sometimes forget that joy also is available to us in a tap of sorts, that we can access the joy that we have within. So we're going to jump into in a second how to do this with something I call the joy tap. And there's 3 steps, and it's really simple, but it's very, very powerful. Something that I've helped a lot of people with over my lifetime. But let's start there. Let me tell you a little bit about me, because you're here hanging out in my house in this metaphorical house, the Tony Babcock podcast. I want to tell you a little bit about me and why I created this podcast. I am a global speaker, keynote speaker, as well as a coach, as well as a teacher, an educator, and a professional actor. I also do a bunch of other things. I author books, I do voice acting, I lead NLP and improv workshops, a bunch of other things. But the point being, what I really am here to do is to empower people to be true to themselves, to stand in their truth, and to realize that they have everything that they need. And this mission and message is so important to me. It's what I call a soul mission, because it's soul, S-O-L-E, or S-O-U-L, your soul, your one mission on this planet. My soul mission is so important to me because I know what it's like to go through a lot of adversity. Growing up as a very awkward queer kid in a small conservative farm town with a handful of people, having to hide who I was from the jump, learning these very toxic patterns and beliefs that I was only enough if I was helping. I was only enough if I was straight. I was only enough if I looked a certain way, acted a certain way. This created a nonstop cycle of people pleasing, anxious attachment, control issues. I mean, the list goes on and on. But the point is, this beginning that I had in childhood, it really, in some ways, was a double-edged sword. Sure, it gave me, a lot of anxiety, and it really messed up the idea of identity for me. It disconnected me from myself, but it also gave me a really strong work ethic. It also made me someone who was high achieving. It also made me very independent. Sometimes the very things that have thrown us off and can throw us off also can help and inspire and empower us. And so I forgot to mention, I'm also a trained psychologist and therapist, and I'm very obsessed with therapy, psychology, philosophy, and human behavior. What's fascinating is, as humans, we have this innate need to move ahead, to strive, to get better. But we also have this innate need to stay safe, to stay in the cave. If we look at our ancestral lineage, we know our ancestors were the ones that stayed safe. They didn't venture out because the ones that ventured out got eaten by the saber-toothed tigers or whatever else was in the landscape. So we descend from the select few who stayed safe and watched cave flicks, and they were like, hey, yeah, we're gonna just chill out here, you guys go, we're good here. And it's so interesting to know this, because this teaches us something, which is that we as human beings are contradictions. So knowing that we're inverses of ourselves, or we're always at conflict with ourselves in a way, it's an important distinction to understand joy versus pain. We're always looking for more joy in our lives, despite the fact that we know we have to go through pain. And if you look at your life, do you not have to go through pain often before you get to the joy? I would argue that almost every single time, if you really want pure joy, there is some pain to go through. And we don't like pain. Right? I mean, we're not just talking about like going to the dentist and being afraid of that drilling noise. We're talking about like sometimes deep pain, and we can only push against it for so long before we become really numb. The other version of this looks like facing it, sitting into it, breathing into it, accepting that there's going to be chaos and struggle, and therefore moving through it. So how do you move through it when you're in the chaos? Well, I've developed something I call the joy tap. And just like a tap where you get water out of it, the joy tap gives you 3 very quick things you can do in the midst of a panic attack, in the midst of dysregulation when you get a bad text from someone, in the midst of feeling, overwhelmed by a stack of work that you have to do. So many examples. I want you to, in fact, right now, think about a recent example of when you were not at your best. You lost the joy. You got your mind, your being, every part of you got consumed by something. But how do you get out of it? Well, there are 3 ways to do this, and they're very simple to remember. TAP, T-A-P, it's the joy tap. So the first thing, the T, is to touch the truth, okay? So when we're in these chaotic panic states, we've forgotten the truth of who we are. We need to put our arms around our shoulders, or we need to put, a hand on the back of our neck. We need to get into contact with ourselves. Why does this work? Well, physiologically speaking, we, in these moments, forget that we have a body. We get so stuck in our head that we end up living above the neck, and our body can go into panic mode, flight or fight, or freeze or fawn. And so we're in our mind and we forget we have a body. So literally just grabbing your arms or your shoulders, do it right now. Remind yourself that you have a body. And once you do that, you're going to just ask yourself 3 questions. What am I thinking right now? And maybe you realize that you're thinking something like, this work is never going to get done. Or this person hates me because they're not texting me. You want to just get curious. What am I thinking right now? Then, what am I feeling right now? What am I actually feeling? What are the emotions? And with that, you can also ask yourself, what am I sensing? Like, where is it in my body? Do I feel tight in my stomach? Are my shoulders heavy? And then, what am I wanting to do or trying to do or telling myself to do? Am I wanting to panic text like, hello, you're not answering me. Hello, is everything okay? Am I wanting to fix the situation? If it's a pile of work that's stressing me out and I'm in overwhelm, am I wanting to get into hustle mode and get it all done? It's really important to ask yourself that. And then once you've asked these 3 questions, you've now got a deeper sense of the truth. That's the T, touch the truth. Now we get to A. You want to activate the joy, right? You want to activate the joy that you have within. Find it again and activate it. Get it into action. Touching the truth is sort of like the appetizer. We're getting ourselves to a place where we're at least calm enough to activate or access the joy. How does joy get activated? Well, by outside things that we see or feel. They're 5 sensual, right? So a really great method for doing this is to have a photo album on your phone called Joy. And it just has 5, 6, 7 pictures of things that bring you joy. Maybe it's your kids. Maybe it's a place you like to travel. Have that ready so that in these moments, after you've touched the truth, you can open that phone, open that album, take a deep breath while you just look through these photos. And I want you to watch how it starts to regulate your nervous system. Now, you may be more auditory than visual. So maybe instead it's in your voice notes and it's like a voice note that brings you joy. Or maybe it's a song or a sound, but something that taps into the joy places in you, something that makes you feel joyful, something that makes you smile. Now that we've had the appetizer of touching the truth, we've sat into the main meal of activating that joy, we want to now have dessert. And dessert is playing both sides. Playing both sides, and the reason it's dessert, by the way, is because you can enjoy this more, because now you've regulated yourself. So if you have a stack of work and you're panicking about not getting it done, and you've touched the joy and you've calmed yourself down, and you've touched the truth, you've calmed yourself down, you've activated the joy, you can now say, well, is it possible that I won't get this done? Yeah, that's possible. And is that okay? Can I be okay with that? If you can't even say it's okay, then can I be okay with it not being okay? And if that's a no, can I find a way to be okay with it not being okay? And then you play the other side. Is it possible that I will get it done? Yeah, that's possible too. Can I be okay with that, with getting it done? Well, yeah, of course. I would love getting it done. The real joy comes from peace, from being in the middle, being able to sit in a place of it's not all or nothing. It's not black or white. There are so many other possibilities. And that's what we lose sight of when we get into panic mode, when our body becomes dysregulated, our nervous system becomes dysregulated. Our ability to come back to that centered place and go, okay, there are other options here. That's what gets us through. That's what allows us to get through tough things. And so this whole idea of tapping into that joy, TAP, right? Touch the truth, activate the joy, and then play both sides. You're going to find that this tool makes an extreme difference in your life because it works on the field, right? It works in the heat of these moments. And I wanted to start with this on the first episode because these are the types of tools and exercises we're going to do together here. I'm going to show you how to implement these quick exercises, these quick thought experiments into many different aspects of life. The aspects that make you play small, the aspects that make you forget who you are or make you feel scared of being who you are. So if you're taking anything from today, it's that you still deserve joy. You can still find joy. And you still deserve to stand proudly in your spotlight, whatever that is for you, whatever that looks like for you. So if this resonated for you today, I would love you to subscribe, give me a comment below, and take a look at the notes, the show notes, whether you're listening to this in your favorite podcast app or if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the show notes. And if you'd like to get a question answered here on the podcast, then you just got to go to the show notes, click on the link, submit your question. Starting in the next episode, I'm going to answer viewer questions. And if you'd like to see some of the many different online courses and offerings I have that can help you go deeper into a lot of this work in different ways, check out our website below at tonybabcock.com. Otherwise, I wish you an amazing rest of your day. I hope this was really helpful for you and gave you that quick, fresh breath you needed. And I want you to remember that you've got this. So do you.